Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Beginner Bike Giveaway series. If you haven't been caught up and you didn't watch last week's episode, this is our KTM RC390. Can you believe this thing, guys? Look at it. Look how amazing this bike looks. I swear, any beginner rider who I feel awesome on this thing, man. I'm not even a beginner rider. I'm cruising around here on these streets, and I'm just like, wow, what a cool looking bike. So if you guys don't know, if you're not keeping up to date on the channel, we give away motorcycles here on the channel. So this is our new bike that we're doing. If you want to learn more about how you can get entered to win for free or support the series, click the link below and get started. But anyways, today what we're going to do is do a quick kind of like initial impressions video. I think that's important when you're doing a bike like this. So I've just bought this motorcycle. We're about to take it out here on one of my favorite roads and just kind of enjoy it a little bit, talk about it. But the important thing to note here is that this is a brand new motorcycle, so we can't really wring its neck, and we're also on the street. So I don't feel super comfortable kind of taking it out and ripping it around these corners out here. And to be honest, here in Texas, as you can see, it's a whole lot of flat and not a whole lot of twisty. Even though this road up here is twisty enough, it'll get the job done. But this bike, I have a lot to say about this bike, man, because I think it excels in ways that you wouldn't really expect, and I think that experienced riders and new riders alike can find something to really enjoy in a small displacement motorcycle. So, without further ado, let's jump on the bike and let's get started. So, before buying this bike, I was actually watching a little video that Ari Henning put out, because Ari owned one of these RC390s and raced them, and I was kind of getting caught up to speed on them. He mentioned that one of the most annoying things, and I have to agree, is the kickstand. The kickstand, for some reason, when you want to engage it, you have to flick the foot peg up and then flick it down. Super weird and annoying, but otherwise, I haven't really found any other quirks that I don't really like about it yet. The other thing I love about it, too, let's get it started up really quick. Let's put it in neutral. Oops. The other thing I really love about this motorcycle is it comes stock with adjustable levers from the factory, which is such a cool feature. And from what I read, it has ABS that you can disengage, which at this price point and at this like segment is unheard of. But this bike has a lot of cool features about it that make it kind of a cut above the beginner bike class. So let's take it out on some of these roads and let's go enjoy. And as you guys can see, whenever I get up to about 8,000 RPM, the little light starts yelling at me. And that's because this is a brand new bike and it hasn't been broken in yet. And per the service manual, it requires, you not to rev it out. So yeah, we're going to take these corners probably at about 90 kph, because the bike is still in kph. I haven't changed it yet, and we're just going to enjoy ourselves. We're not going to go super fast. But one of the things I wanted to talk about was how I think for any rider, the small displacement class is really a lot of fun, because you just feel like you can just completely own the bike, you know? Like I'm here just having, like, I don't know why, but like small displacement bikes feel like the sort of margin for error is so much smaller, or rather larger, and you don't feel like you're gonna like, and it's hard to explain, but like there's something so playful about this class of bikes. When I jumped on it, because I owned an R3, I immediately remembered when I first got my R3. And you just want to like learn everything there is about riding, and it's just such an effervescent little machine, and you want to have a blast with it. And that's really what the RC390 does for you, man. Like, you just want to own it, you want to just ride it and have a good time. And the cool thing is, because you can't rely on power, you have to really rely on cornering speeds. So I don't know, for me personally, I think this bike makes a lot of sense for people who are avid track day enthusiasts to really like hone in your braking skills and hone in on your trail braking skills and your corner speeds, because you can't really hide. The RC390 is a bike you can't really ride if you have a big ego, because it's a small little bike, man. What are you going to do with it? How are you going to have an ego riding a 373cc single cylinder? The other funny thing too is, like, so I'm a pretty experienced motorcyclist. I'm no professional by any means, but I've been riding for about 4 years. I've owned a ton of different bikes, And the thing that really sticks out to me is that even though this bike only has about 42 horsepower because it's A2 compliant, I don't really feel like, you know, only if you're in the super top end of it that you feel like it's lacking power, but otherwise it doesn't really feel like it's going to get away from you or anything like that. And it just feels like you can ride the absolute pants off this thing, man. Like it feels like it's never going to let you down. And yeah, would I like to be able to shoot out of corners? Of course, anyone would, but that's not really the point here. And if you're able to get on this bike and kind of reorganize your sense of like what's important in motorcycling, then I think you're gonna have a blast on this bike, man. We're having a fun time on these roads, man. We're not out here chasing any kind of lap times or anything. You know, just carving up corners and having a nice time is really what it's all about. Also, you'd hate to bin a brand new motorcycle, so we're definitely not going to be pushing it. I'd say we're running like a 6.5 to 7/10 pace on this thing. You know, we're keeping it in 5th and 6th gear for most part, not revving it out, pitching it in nice and smooth. That guy's the same suit as me. And to be honest, there's a reason that a lot of guys, I think the progression is kind of funny because it goes full circle. A lot of guys start out on smaller bikes or maybe a 650, they move up to like an R6, and then they get a big bag R1 when they're ready for it. And then, you know, after doing a couple track days, they realize that they can't do anything with their R1. They can't really exploit it. And so they end up back on one of these, you know, they end up back on a small bike because it reminds them when they started out. And it's just an absolute blast to ride, man. Like I'm out here, I've done maybe like 5 or 6 track days, and I'm really a big fan of like the Daytona 675, R6s, that class of bike. And I gotta be honest, I feel perfectly happy on this thing, man. I'm having a really fun time. It just feels like you could push so much harder. We're not going to wring this little thing's neck because it is brand new, so let's take it easy on it. You can just really just carry the corner speed a crazy amount. Kind of fly through stuff, man. The other thing that's really great too is that this bike is on the Pirelli Rosso 2s, I believe, the Diablo Rosso 2s, which is a really sticky tire and really good for this type of bike. I actually ran a set of these on my R3, and it completely transformed the nature of the bike and how fast you could go with it. But again, we're not going super fast here, guys. Keeping it to between, you know, 110, 120 kph, just about 60 to 70 miles per hour, I believe. 60, I think, is 100, so we're doing pretty okay. The other thing this bike makes you do is because it's so light and it's so small, you can really, really play and understand with lines on this bike, man. If you go right here, hit the apex, go all the way out, come back, turn in late, ride it in, go like that. It's just really playful. Like it just feels like the kind of stuff you can do with it is really fun. I'm having such a fun time on this bike. It reminds me so much of when I first had my R3. It reminds me so much of those first days of motorcycling and having a fun time and learning. It's not like you want to, I mean, of course, we all want a shit ton of torque and to go really fast. That's fun, but at the same time, man, these bikes are special. And I'm so glad that when the KTM RC390 came out, I think in 2014 it just gave like a big kick in the pants to this whole segment. And now like all these little bikes are so cool. It used to be like, you know, 10 years ago, all you had was the Ninja 250, and, you know, God bless you if you wanted to try to have some fun on that thing, because it was just a wretched little motorcycle. I've ridden one before. They're awful. I don't like Ninja 250s. But this thing, to compare it to a Ninja 250 or anything like that is so ridiculous, because it feels so completely different to any one of those bikes. I can say unequivocally this is the class leader if you're looking for like small sporty fun. a couple people have hit me up asking about reliability and that kind of thing. So as far as I understand, this is a 2017 year model car, and so, or year model bike. Well, I just said car. So you're not really going to run into any type of, you know, reliability issues as far as I understand, because they apparently fixed a lot of that stuff. And oh, we got a car here. Common issues were like some common issues on the old bike was like valves that would get out of spec really easily, and the head gasket would go. From what I understand, all that has been fixed. Again, a lot of those guys, kind of like Ari Henning and the sort, were racing, and so I don't know if you could really classify it as, you know, people who had normal experiences with their motorcycles. But at the same time, you know, that's pretty hefty stuff for reliability. Too aggressive on the downshifts there. Look at all these cows grazing. Yeah, man. I also just love the look out from this cockpit. This looks so cool. You tell me this is a bike a beginner can get on, you'd feel so proud owning this bike. It looks so cool. Like, I love owning it for the little limited time that I'm going to own it. I think it's such an awesome little bike. Look at this race tech you can get into here, man. This little thing is so cool. And I know, some of you have told me that I'm kind of like, I get on a bike and I always think that they're fun. But I mean, there's kind of a reason. Most bikes are just awesome. Like, most bikes that I've ever ridden are just plain fun, you know? This thing is fun. You feel like a little racer on it. I bet, dude, on a track, this thing would absolutely shred. Oh, we gotta watch here. We got some gravel. Take it nice and easy. But yeah, man, on a track, oh my God, you could absolutely shred this bike. You could completely shred it. So that's one thing I think we're going to be able to do with this motorcycle in the time that we own it, is actually take it out to a track and have some fun with it. Hopefully by the time that we hit the service break-in, because I definitely don't want to take it out on track before we do the first service on it. So definitely going to wait on that. Like, it just goes. You just want to go faster and faster with it. What a fun little machine. It flicks so fast because it's so small. Golly, dude. You could absolutely shred this bike on a track, man. Like 100%. You could obliterate a racetrack with this thing. It's just set up, ready to go, right out of the box, pretty well, honestly. What's really cool too is, you know, you can slap a pair of race fairings on this thing and go compete in its own class. I don't know if they still do it, but the RC390 had its own cup class that you could go and race in. So if you got, like, you know, racing license and whatever other qualifications you need, you could go and do it, which is really cool. But to be honest, you can just chuck this thing onto a trailer and call it a track day, like right out of the box, dude, and you're gonna have a blast. God, you can ride this bike so hard, it's insane, dude. You really can. Like, you can absolutely shred in this bike. What other cool stuff is there to talk about? The dash actually gives you some really cool information. It's kind of hard to read. I agree with what Ari Henning said about the dash. Despite it giving you a lot of information, it's pretty difficult to read. So it's telling me fuel consumption. I know you can cycle through some of that stuff with like the mode select buttons. So for this class of bike, that's pretty impressive already, but I know you can do a lot more with it. The throttle feel, it's okay, I'll be honest. It's really not the best thing ever. There's a little bit of slack in it when you get up and going, but to be honest, this thing is at home on a racetrack, and at the track, you're not really going to be, you know, at 1,000 RPM taking off from first gear very often, so it's not a big deal. Boy, what a cool little bike though, man. And to be honest, I was a bit worried about the single cylinder because I don't love single cylinder bikes. I find them to be really vibey and kind of pokey in a bad way. I like the refinement and smoothness of multi-cylinder bikes, but I think the single cylinder, this weirdly enough gives it its character. When you take it off the line, it really thumps and kind of shakes and, you know, judders along, which is cool. Like, I think you kind of want that experience in a bike like this. On a more like road kind of touring kind of, you know, commuter bike, you wouldn't really want a single cylinder, but on this thing I think it makes sense. And it's just really cool that, you know, the single cylinder makes it really, really lightweight. I think this bike only weighs like, I'm gonna put up the weight figure here because I really don't know, but boy, it just feels like an absolute little dude. You can just do whatever you want with this bike. It is unreal. Yeah, I think the takeaway here is like, this is a bike that is like, you cannot have an ego and own it, because what are you gonna say? Like, oh, it's super fast? It's not. Oh, it handles so well? I mean, it does, but you have to do the work. It doesn't have any electronics. I think it's just a bike that it doesn't have any ego, man. Like, it just, you gotta own it and you gotta ride it, you know? The other thing I am absolutely shocked at is the ergonomics package of this bike. It's so leaned in, so much more than other bikes in the segment. Hey, there's that guy again. Like, my R3 was actually a very comfortable bike to ride. This thing is not that comfortable. It's specifically designed for racetrack applications. It feels really leaned over. Yeah, basically, this bike gives you a completely different sense of riding, because unlike most sport bikes, you just have to really work for what you want out of it, you know? You gotta really get the speed up. It's not going to give you anything for free, man. Yeah, like, I think the overall feature of this bike is you really just want to, like, see how far you can push the cornering speed and how late you can brake. It provides a completely different experience than a big sport bike would. So, if that's what you're looking for, if you're looking at something to really hone your craft, this is a great bike to do it, man. So yeah, guys, overall impressions for starters for the KTM RC390. Fun little bike. I mean, a lot of people say it, that it's a fun bike, and I don't think you truly appreciate it until you ride it. I'm super stoked to get started doing some stuff to it, riding it, making some content with it. And of course, this episode would not be complete without me mentioning that this is our giveaway bike. And so if you want to learn more about how you can win this motorcycle, click the link in the description below. Find out how you can enter in for free, or support the series for additional chances to win and to chat with me on our Discord server. But with that, that's going to do it for today. I'll catch you guys next time. See you later.